Welcome to SATU Career 2.0 online nursing channel. We are helping all the AIMS aspirants to prepare for the AIMS NOSET 2020 exam. So we are organizing various model tests in free of cost. So every 2 days once we are conducting the test. So if you want to take the test, you can send request to my WhatsApp number which I have given in the description box. So this is the answer key for third test which we have given to our aspirants on Saturday on Independence Day. So we are going to discuss the answer key for those 100 questions, but in this video we are going to discuss only 90 questions. Let's see the questions one by one. If you are not yet subscriber to our channel, please subscribe to SATU Career 2.0 online nursing channel. Now let's see the first question in this video. Who is at risk for metabolic acidosis? Option A, emphysema patient. Option B, chronic bronchitis patient. Option C, elderly patient who is in IV therapy. Option D, patient with severe uncontrolled diabetes mellitus. The right answer is option D. The patient with severe uncontrolled diabetes mellitus is prone to develop metabolic acidosis because they have more chance to develop diabetic ketoacidosis. Now let's see the second question. Among these signs and symptoms, all are associated with hypocalcemia except option A, Chopstick sign, B, Trousius sign, C, shortened QT interval in ECG, option D, tingling and numbness sensation. So which among the following signs and symptoms is not associated with hypocalcemia? The right answer is shortened QT interval is not associated with hypocalcemia. The rationale. So hypocalcemia we recognize when there is prolongation of QT wave, but when there is shortening of QT wave, it does not associated with hypocalcemia. So that is the rationale here. Now let's see the third question. So image based question. You see the ECG reading here and interpret it. Option A, it's the ECG of patient with atrial flutter. Option B, ECG of first degree heart block. Option C, complete heart block. Option D, second degree heart block. So which patient will have this type of ECG? The right answer, this ECG is taken for patient with second degree heart block. Let's see the rationale here. So here in second degree atrioventricular nodal block, it is also called as Van Bach block or Mobitz type 1 AV block. So it is a varying failure of conduction through the AV node such that some P waves may not be followed by QRS complex. So the P wave may not be present in this ECG strip. So unlike first degree AV nodal block, the ratio 1:1, that is P wave to QRS complex ratio, is not maintained here. So this is how we can say this ECG is a second degree AV node heart block patient. Question number 4. In the principles of nursing, the idea which tells that nurses to be assigned tasks, not the patient, which among the following is apt for this principle? Option A, team nursing. B, functional nursing. C, hospice nursing. Option D, primary nursing. So which nursing principle says that tasks need to be assigned only to the nurse, not to the patient? The right answer is option B, functional nursing. The concept functional nursing says nurses should be given the task to care the patient. So very simple, many tasks are accomplished in a short period of time. So it is a kind of task oriented approach. Okay, that's why this is comes under the functional nursing. Question number 5. The Indian to be beat the computer in mathematical wizardry is option A Ramanujam, B Reena Panigadi, option C Raja Ramana, option D Shakuntala Devi. Now recently the Shakuntala Devi movie got released. So if you have watched that movie, you will not choose the other three options. The right answer is Shakuntala Devi. Question number 6. The nurse is assigned to a patient who has bacterial pneumonia and is under droplet precautions. Which personal protective equipment will she wear to deliver the meal? Option A, only a mask is required. Option B, special filtration mask is required. Option C, gown, mask, gloves and shoe covers are needed. Option D, no PPE is required. So a bacterial pneumonia patient who is under droplet precaution, when you serve meals to the client, which PPE you should wear? The right answer, only a mask is sufficient. Only a mask is needed when you go near the patient who is with bacterial pneumonia. So that is the rationale here. Question number 7. Diaper rashes in children is most likely caused by which of the following action? Option A. Wash with a mild cleanser and water and dry thoroughly whenever stooling has occurred. Option B. Wipe the buttocks with oil and powder the creases while changing the diaper. Option C. Wash with soap and diaper every time the diaper is changed. Option D. Wash with soap before applying a thin layer of oil. So when a child is having diaper rashes, to prevent, what action you need to do? The right answer is option A. We need to wash with mild cleanser and water and dry thoroughly whenever stooling is occurred. That is the right answer here. Question number 8. Birth weight of 1000 to 2000 grams are called as option A. Small for dead babies, B. Low birth weight babies, option C. Very low birth weight babies, option D. Extremely low birth weight babies. Baby whose weight 1000 to 2000 gram at birth is known as option C. Very low birth weight babies. The rational, the classification you should know, extremely low birth weight babies will have less than 1000 gram and very low birth weight babies 2500, that is 2000 to 2500 gram weight they supposed to have, and normal birth weight babies will have 3500 gram and more than that, so they are also called obese. Question number 9. Action of cardiotonics is to option A to treat primary hypertension, option B to treat rheumatoid heart disease, option C increase the force of contraction, option D decrease the force of heart contraction. So option C increase the force of heart contraction, option D decrease the force of heart contraction. The right answer, cardiotonics are used to increase the force of heart contraction. So that is the right answer. So this is the drug which is used to increase the efficiency and improve the contraction of heart muscles. Now let's see the question number 10. A patient who recently diagnosed with leukemia, which of the following symptoms would a nurse expect to see in this patient? Option A, dyspnea, B, malaise, and option A, dyspnea, malaise and hypertension, B, bruising, fatigue and bone pain, option C, facial rashes, paresthesia and abdominal pain, option D, bradycardia, hypotension and palpitation. So client with leukemia, the symptom nurse should expect is option B, bruising, fatigue and bone pain. The rational, these are the common problems associated with leukemia. Question number 11. While caring for a patient who is on the restraints, how often should the nursing officer inspect for the skin integrity of the patient? Option A, every 20 minutes, B, every 2 hours, C, every 3 hours, option D, every 4 hours. So while the client is on restraint, the responsibility of the nursing officer to check the integrity of the skin for every option A, 30 minutes. Every 30 minutes is right here. Now let's see the question number 12. You are working in the emergency department and find out that a tsunami has hit the local area. Numerous casualties are being sent to the emergency department. What action should you take at this time? Option A, prepare the triage room. B, obtain additional supplies. Option C, activate the agency disaster plan. Option D, call an additional staff. So during the time of any natural disaster hit in your area, the nurse's responsibility lies on option C, activating the agency disaster plan immediately. Question number 12, answer, that is the right. Option C is right. Question number 13. You receive an order of 1000 ml of normal saline over 12 hours. The drop factor is 15 drops per 1 ml. You prepare to set the flow rate at how many drops per minute? Option A, 15 drops per minute. Option B, 17 drops per minute. Option C, 21 drops per minute. Option D, 23 drops per minute. So you need to calculate and you need to find out. Let me tell the answer. The answer is option C, 21 drops per minute. So when you have that is you have received order for 1000 ml of normal saline over 12 hours when the drop factor is 15 per 1 ml. So what rate flow of fluid you need to maintain? So let's see the answer. Solve. The drop rate is 21 drops per minute. That is the answer. So how we got that? The total volume divided by time in minutes. The total volume, that is 1000 ml, we have order received, and time in minutes, so 24 hours, that is we have 720 minutes into that drop factor, that is 15 GTS, so which gives the answer 21 drops per minute. Now let's see the question number 14. You are preparing to administer an intravenous dose of 4 lakhs units of penicillin G benzathine. The 10 ml ampule label reads penicillin G benzathine 3 lakhs unit per ml. You prepare to administer how much of the medication? Option A, 1.3 ml. Option B, 1.5 ml. Option C, 10 ml. Option D, 13 ml. So again a calculation is needed. Answer is 1.3 ml. So in this question you are preparing to give 4 lakh unit of penicillin C benzathine. So the 10 ml ampule which you have, that reads 3 lakh units per ml. So how much medicine you need to prepare to administer? So the answer, you should administer 1.3 ml of penicillin Z benzathine here. The desired dose is 4 lakh unit and available concentration we have only 3 lakh units per ml. So the formula, desired dose divided by available concentration, that is multiplied with the available dose concentration. So when you do like that, so 4 lakh units divided by 3 lakh units into 1 ml, which gives, that is 1.3 ml. That is the answer. The available dose which is in our hand. Now let's see the next question. So here again calculation oriented question. You are preparing to give potassium chloride 30 milliequivalent in 1000 ml of normal saline over 10 hours. You are preparing to give potassium chloride 30 milliequivalent in 1000 ml of normal saline over 10 hours. The medication label reads 40 milliequivalent per 20 ml. How many milliliters of potassium chloride do you need to administer? That is the question. Now options: option A 10 ml, B 15 ml, C 20 ml, D 50 ml. First see the answer, then we go for the calculation. The answer is 15 ml. So read the question carefully. You are preparing to give 30 milliequivalent of potassium chloride in 1000 ml of normal saline over 10 hours. The medication label which you have that reads 40 milliequivalent per 20 ml. So now how many milliliters of potassium chloride you need to administer? So very simple, the nurse should administer 15 ml of potassium chloride. So the formula same you need to apply. The desired dose we have 30 milliequivalent, but available concentration is 40 milliequivalent per 20 ml. So the formula desired dose divided by available concentration in unit into available concentration in that is in the volume. So 30 milliequivalent we need to, that is the available decide we need to give, but we have 40 milliequivalent, that is we have in 20 ml. So the answer is 0.75 into 20 ml, that is 15 ml. Now move on to question number 16. You enter a patient's room and find the patient is not breathing, no pulse and unresponsive. You have called for help. What is the next step? After you see a patient who is not having breathing, no pulse and who is unresponsive. So when you call for the help, what is the next step? Option A oxygen administration, B open airway. Option C back mask ventilation. Option D chest compression. So very simple, we need to go for chest compression here. So by doing CPR, the new standards in CPR emphasize that chest compressions over airway. So the next step after calling for help is to check the pulse and begin chest compressions. Chest compression should be given immediately, that is 30 for an adult patient, and then followed by opening the airway and beginning respirations. Ventilation is only initiated when the airway is open or patent, as oxygen is not needed until the patient is breathing. So that's why option D chest compression we are selecting here. Question number 17. The correct hand placement for chest compression is the option A lower third of the sternum, option B lower half of the sternum, option C upper third of the sternum, option D upper half of the sternum. So during chest compression, where you place the hand? The right answer is option B. Hand is placed at lower half of the sternum. The rationale. So very simple, lower half of the sternum is the correct hand placement for chest compression. So to determine the proper placement, the nurse should want to locate the notch where the rib margin meets the sternum. Place the middle finger on the notch and index finger next to it. Next, place to the heel of the opposite hand of the lower half of the sternum, which is close to the index finger. So place the first hand on the top of the hand on the sternum and begins to do chest compression here. Now let's see the question number 18. What is the proper technique for opening the airway on a trauma patient? Option A head tilt chin lift method. Option B flexed position. Option C modified head tilt chin lift method. Option D jaw thrust maneuver. The right technique which you need to use for opening the airway in a trauma client is option D jaw thrust maneuver. The rationale: to open the airway of any patient, that might have neck injury, the nurse would perform a jaw thrust maneuver. All of the other options do not protect the neck from the further injuries. Question number 19. The most appropriate place to check the pulse on a 1 month old infant is option A brachial, B carotid, C radial, D popliteal. So the correct place to check the pulse on a 1 month old infant is option A brachial. Question number 19. The rationale. The brachial pulse is the appropriate pulse for a 1 month old infant. It is difficult to check the carotid pulse on an infant due to the short and fat neck. Popliteal and radial pulses are also difficult to palpate in a 1 year old infant. Sorry. Now let's see the question number 20. You are encouraging your post-operative patient to cough and take deep breaths. The patient questions why it is so important to do this. Your response would include the nursing, sorry, your response would include the understanding that retaining pulmonary secretions can lead to option A, pulmonary edema, B, pneumonia, C, retention of carbon dioxide, option D, fluid intake. So in a post-operative client, if he is not coughing and he is not taking deep breath, what it might result? The right answer, option B, pneumonia can occur. If there is a sputum obstructions inside the respiratory system, that may lead to infection, pneumonia, which is the inflammation of the lung tissue, that can occur. That is one of the post-operative complication also. So to prevent that, we need to encourage the client to do coughing and deep breathing exercise. Question number 21. Which of the following would you want to include in an education session to the staff on HIV and AIDS? Option A. Newborn infants and HIV positive mothers are usually test positive. Option B. The hematological system is usually attacked by HIV. Option C. The lymphocytes are destroyed because the virus attacks the immune system. Option C. The lymphocytes are destroyed because the virus attacks the immune system. Option D. With AIDS, T4 cells cannot form a protective antibodies due to depleted B cells. So which of the following statement is right? The right answer. So option C, the T lymphocytes are destroyed because the virus attacks the immune system. So this you need to teach to the client with HIV and AIDS when you do education. Question number 22. The rational you know very well. I am not going to rational. Now let's see the question number 22. You are preparing a teaching session on tuberculosis. What is one of the first important symptoms that group might notice in some who has tuberculosis? Option A, bloody productive cough. Option B, cough with mucoid sputum. Option C, chest pain. Option D, dyspnea. So first time when you see a client who is suspected for tuberculosis, the first symptom we need to suspect or we need to notice is option B, cough with mucoid sputum. That is the right answer here. So rational I have given, but due to shortage of time I could not read. You can see it. Question number 23. The older patient that you have been assigned to is having difficulty in distinguishing between hot and cold temperatures. Alteration of which gland activity would lead to this problem? Option A, thymus. Option B, parotid. Option C, pineal. Option D, sweat gland. So which of the following gland impairment lead the client to have difficulty in differentiating the heat and cold temperature. Option D, sweat gland. Option D, sweat gland is right. Question number 24. Let us see the question number 24. Which of the following would not encourage effective communication between a dying patient and his family? So when you're caring for a dying patient, which communication you should not do? Option A, discussing the feelings openly. Option B, making decisions for the family and patient. Option C, assisting family and the patient in performing spiritual practices. Option D, acceptance when family and patient expresses anger. The right answer, the right answer, option B, making decision for the family and the patient. So that you need to consider not to speak when you care for a dying client. We cannot take any decision for the family and the patient. Question number 25. You are working in a community that has just experienced a hurricane. You are trying to find housing and counseling for those who need it. Which type of level of preventions are you representing? Option A, primary. B, secondary. C, tertiary. D, and the fourth level of prevention. So the right answer here. So the counseling comes under tertiary level of prevention. Now let's see the question number 26. The rationale I am skipping due to shortage of time. You are caring for a patient in the emergency department. The patient has been drinking alcohol and is asking for medication. When you instruct the patient that they have to wait to be seen by the doctor, the patient becomes verbally abusive. You then obtain a set of restraints and instruct the patient, if they do not calm down, you will restrain them. What can you be charged with? Option A, assault. B, battery. C, negligence. D, invasion of privacy. When you tell the patient that you will be restrained if he is not becoming calm, the patient can charge you against which of the following things? Option A, assault is the right answer. So without the consent, the physical assault that can be considered in this case. Question number 26, the rationale is here. Move on to question number 27. There is a patient on the unit with herpes zoster. You would avoid assigning this patient to a staff member who has never had or been vaccinated for. Option A, mumps. B, chickenpox. C, German measles. Option D, rubiola. So when you are seeing a patient who is having herpes zoster, so which staff member you should never uh, which like when you are saying the staff member who has never you should avoid, like which staff member you should avoid when you allot care for the particular patient. Option A, mumps. B, chickenpox. C, German measles. D, rubiola. The right answer is the nurse who does not have vaccinated for chickenpox should not be allowed to care this patient who is with herpes zoster. Question number 28. A nurse from the surgical unit has been plotted to you. The nurse from the surgical unit has been plotted to your unit for the day. Which of the following patients would you want to assign to this nurse? Option A, exacerbation of heart failure. Option B, diabetes type 2, new onset. Option B, thyrotoxicosis. Option D, emergency appendectomy. So already a nurse have worked in surgical care unit. So that nurse, when comes to your unit for some period of time to work, you need to assign emergency appendectomy case to give care, because a surgical nurse know very well what kind of preoperative care can be given to the particular patient who wants appendectomy. Question number 29. You are working on the postpartum unit today. Which task you would assign to beginning a nursing student? To a beginning nursing student in postoperative, that is in postpartum ward, what duty you will assign? Option A, complete admission procedure. B, ambulate the patient. Option C, notify the physician of adverse labs. Option D, verify a unit of blood. So for a new nursing student, you need to allot ambulating the patient. That kind of care you can allot. Question number 30. You are caring for a heart failure patient who suddenly developed symptoms that include shortness of breath, increased respiratory rate, bilateral crackles, and frothy sputum. You have notified the physician and received orders for the patient. Which activity would be appropriate for delegate to a licensed practical nurse? So for a licensed practical nurse, which kind of care you can delegate? Option A, start on IV. Option B, morphine sulfate 2 milligram IV push. Option C, insert a Foley catheter. Option D, check vital signs every 15 minutes. So for a licensed practical nurse, you can allot a difficulty task like inserting a Foley catheter. Other activities can be done for a fresh students. Question number 31, image based questions. We are going to see option. So identify the device or instrument shown in the image. Option A, DVAR retractor. Option B, Crile retractor. C, Doyne retractor. Option D, Matthew retractor. So this retractor is option B, Crile retractor. Crile retractor. Question number 32. So this instrument, option A, DVAR retractor. Option B, Crile retractor. C, Doyne's retractor. Option D, Matthew retractor. So this instrument is Doyne retractor. Question number 33. Identify the instrument in this image. Option A, green retractor. B, DVAR retractor. Option C, Cushing nerve and vein retractor. Option D, Matthew retractor. So this instrument is Cushing nerve and vein retractor. Cushing nerve and vein retractor. Question number 34. So this instrument you need to identify the name. Option A, Kelly retractor. B, Gowlet retractor. C, Cushing nerve and vein retractor. Option D, DVAR retractor. So this instrument is option A, Kelly's retractor. Question number 35. So identify this equipment. Option A, Parker retractor. Option B, Parker Mote retractor. Option C, ribbon malleable retractor. Option D, DVAR retractor. So this equipment is option B, option C, ribbon malleable retractor. Question number 36. So which procedure is performed in this image? Option A, optometry. B, glaucoma test. C, tonometry. Option D, ophthalmoscopy. So the procedure done here is option C, tonometry. Question number 37. So this image shows which instrument? Option A, retracting tissues at the margins of, here the question is, you need to identify where this instrument is used. Option A, retracting the tissues at the margins of the joint in hip arthroplasty. Option B, retraction and elevation of spinal roots. Option C, used to retract skin or bones. Option D, used to clearly expose the surgical site during surgery. So this equipment specifically used in arthroplasty surgeries for retracting the tissues which is present at the margins of the joints. Question number 38. So this retractor is known as option A, Lone Star retractor, B, Beckman retractor, C, Gelpi retractor, option D, Doyne retractor. So this retractor is known as option B, Beckman's retractor. Question number 39. So this instrument is known as option A, Beckman retractor, B, Adston retractor, C, Gelpi retractor, option D, Balfour with blade retractor. So this equipment is option D, Balfour with blade retractor. Question number 40. So this instrument name option A, Bino bone distractors, B, femoral distractor, option C, Gelpi retractor, option D, Hintermann K-wire distractor. So this equipment is called option D, Hintermann K-wire distractor. Now let's see the question number 41. The proportion of clinical cases resulting in severe clinical manifestation is known as option A, infectivity, B, virulence, C, pathogenicity, D, pre-pathogenesis. So this is the right answer is option B, virulence. Question number 42. Which phase is maximum multiplication resulting in increased population of bacteria with reduced generation time? Option A, lag phase, B, decline phase, C, stationary phase, and D, log phase. So in which phase there will be maximum multiplication of bacteria, whereas there is a reduction in the population of generation time? The right answer is option D, log phase. Question number 43. What is pulse deficit? Difference between apical and radial pulse rate. Option B, difference between brachial and ankle pulse rate. Option C, difference between apical and ankle pulse rate. Option D, difference between popliteal and ankle pulse rate. So the pulse deficit, the right definition is option A, difference between apical and radial pulse rate. Question number 44. Increased risk of foodborne botulism is associated with option A, fried foods, B, commercially canned foods, option C, restaurant made foods, option D, home canned foods. So the chance of botulism, foodborne botulism is most common present in homemade foods. That is the food which is made in the home and which is canned, home canned foods. Question number 45. Usual dose of purified protein derivatives in Montauk's test is option A, 5 international unit, B, 50 international unit, C, 100 international unit, option D, 500 international unit. So the dose of purified protein derivative in Montauk's test is option A, 5 international unit. Question number 46. Which type of hypersensitivity is involved in the RH incompatibility? Option A, type 1 hypersensitivity, B, type 2 hypersensitivity, option C, type 3 hypersensitivity, option D, type 4 hypersensitivity. So this type of hypersensitivity seen in the RH incompatibility is option B, type 2 hypersensitivity. Move on to question number 47. The rationale is here. The 47. In a child who is affected with Bell's palsy, moistening of the affected eye has to be done to prevent option A, keratitis, B, conjunctivitis, C, damage to retina due to light, option D, drooping of the eyelid. So in which condition, what is the reason we need to wipe the eyes with wet in the Bell's palsy? The right answer is option A, keratitis. To prevent keratitis, we need to moisten the cotton and we need to wipe the eyes during night in the child with Bell's palsy. Question number 47, the rationale is here. 48. A 6-year-old child is admitted to the hospital with pneumonia. An immediate priority in the child's nursing care would include all of the following. Option A, give oxygen according to the need. B, provide Fowler's or semi-Fowler's position. Option C, provide nutrition to the child. Option D, assess respiratory status and signs of cyanosis. So for a 6-year-old child who is admitted with pneumonia, the priority nursing care includes option C, provide nutrition to the child. Good nutrition is necessary to fight against the pneumonia. Question number 49. Which of the following would first alert the nurse that a child is hemorrhaging after tonsillectomy? Option A, increased pulse rate. B, mouth breathing. Option C, request for drinks. Option D, frequent swallowing. So the signs and symptoms are frequent swallowing. Option D, that indicates the child is having hemorrhage followed by the tonsillectomy procedure. Question number 49, the rationale is here, you can read out. Question number 50, the image, you can see that the 380 number represents what? Option A, duration of the device. B, surface area of the copper. Option C, you can be used for 380 intercourse. Option D, this is discovered by 380 people. So the number 380 represent option B, the surface area of the copper in the device. Question number 50, the right answer you have seen. Now let's see the 51. When is World Population Day is observed? Option A, July 11th, B, June 11th, C, July 21, D, June 21. The World Population Day is celebrated every year on July 11th. Question number 52. What is the commonest chromosomal abnormality in early spontaneous abortion? Option A, monosomy. B, autosomal trisomy. C, triploidy. Option D, tetraploidy. So in abnormal spontaneous abortion, the common effect chromosomal abnormality is option C, option B, autosomal trisomy. Question number 52, the rationale is given here. Question number 53, social stigma is felt or assumed in case of disability in community brings option A, isolation. B, serious problems. D, bitterness. Option D, all of the above. So what mainly the social stigma brings to an individual? Option A, isolation. Question number 53, isolation is right. Question number 54, a psychiatric illness may be manifested by all of the following except option A, impaired in pre-existing functioning. Option B, impoverishment of feelings. Option C, disturbance in behavior. Option D, unpopular beliefs. So, for a psychiatric illness, which symptom is not common here? The right answer is option A, impairment in pre-existing function. So that is anybody can have this, but we cannot say they are a psychiatric disorder client. Question number 55. Which part of the brain regulates cognitive function? Option A, cerebrum, B, cerebellum, C, limbic system, D, pons. The part of the brain which regulates our cognitive function is option A, cerebrum. Question number 56. A client who has diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia and has been violent in the past is admitted to the psychiatric unit. What should the nurse do before performing an admission interview? Option A, move to the client's side and sit down. Option B, alert the assault response team about the client's history. Option C, have two other staff members present when talking with the patient. Option D, enter the room with another staff member while remaining between the client and the door. So for a client who is diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, who is violent during the time of admission, the psychiatric nurse should do the option D, should not go alone to meet the patient. Always go with another staff member and tell them to remain with you when you are taking the history. Question number 56. Option D is right. Question number 57. Image based question. By seeing this image, identify the organism which might have caused this. Option A, Chlamydia trachomatis. B, Haemophilus ducreyi. Option D, Treponema pallidum. Option C, Donovania granulomatis. So this type of lesions commonly present in the pubic or pubital region are caused by syphilis. The agent is Treponema pallidum. Now leads to the 58th question. So here the barium enema image shows which sign? Option A, Mercedes-Benz sign. B, coiled spring sign. B, option C, the spout sign. Option D, esophageal spasm. So this is barium enema shows the sign of interception, that is coiled spring sign, that is common in the intestine, interception of intestine. So that is question number 58. Now question number 59. The finding of pigmentation in the colonic mucosa melanosis cell in a patient with diarrhea suggests which of the following diagnosis? Option A, Addison's disease. B, ulcerative colitis. C, laxative abuse. Option D, bile salt malabsorption. So when there is pigmentation in the colonic mucosa, that is the characteristic feature of laxative abuse. Option C, laxative abuse is right. Question number 60. Now let's see the question number 60. Which of the following drugs reduces portal hypertension? Portal hypertension. That is portal pressure in patient with portal hypertension except option A, nitrates. B, aspirin. C, beta blocker. D, spironolactone. So the agent which increases the portal pressure in a patient with portal hypertension is option B, aspirin. Option B, aspirin is right. Question number 60. Image based question. Name the instrument which you are seeing here. Option A, McDonald circlage needle. Option B, Strikodar circlage needle. Option C, Swag needles. Option D, conventional cutting needles. So this needle, the right answer is option B, Shirokar circlage needles. Option B is right. Question number 62. What is the use of this equipment? Option A, it is used in vasectomy procedure. Option B, used for performing hysterosalpingogram. Option C, used in intracytoplasmic sperm injection. Option C, used in dilatation of curettage. So this equipment, it is used in the procedure to perform hysterosalpingogram, HSG, hysterosalpingogram. They are Rubin's catheter. They are using this. Question number 63. Name the procedure which you are seeing in the image. Option A, artificial insemination. B, hysterectomy. C, hysterosalpingogram. Option D, dilatation and curettage. So this procedure is option A, artificial insemination. Question number 64. What is the purpose of this syringe? Option A, to inject the dyes in the uterus. Option B, to give medications like anesthesia. Option C, to regulate menstruation and endometrial aspiration. Option D, used in all above specified purposes. The equipment, the syringe, is used mainly for option C, to regulate menstruation and endometrial aspiration. Option C is right. Question number 65. You have four images. Identify the correct image for the question. The question is, this needle is used to create pneumoperitoneum for laparoscopic surgery. Identify the needle. Which needle is used in the procedure to create a pneumoperitoneum? The right answer is option A. This is the needle which we are using to create pneumoperitoneum during any laparoscopic surgery. Question number 66. Eye spatula is used to collect pap smear. How much degree in the vagina it will be rotated to obtain the cells to be sent for pap smear examination? Eye spatula, which is used to collect pap smear. So in the vagina, this spatula is rotated how many degrees to collect the culture? The right answer you find from this four option. Option A, 90 degree, B, 180 degree, C, 240 degree, option D, 360 degree. The right answer is eye spatula is moved 360 degree inside the vagina to collect the pap smear. Question number 66, 360 degree is the right answer. Question number 67. Common contraindications to the vaginal hysterectomy are all except option A, pelvic organ prolapse. B, no previous vaginal delivery. Option C, uterus is too big. Option D, history of cesarean or abdominopelvic surgeries. So which is not the which is a common contraindication to vaginal hysterectomy? The right answer is option A. Any pelvic organ prolapse is the common indication for vaginal vaginal hysterectomy. Question number 68. Identify the forceps in the photograph. Option A, Alice forceps. Option B, uterine polyps forceps. Option C, Babcock's forceps. Option D, Iris forceps. The right answer it is uterine polyps forceps. Question number 69. Painful deep sloughing ulcers caused by bacteria which principally affects the gum is known as option A, Vincent angina, B, gingivitis, C, canker sore, option D, leukoplakia. So painful deep sloughing ulcers. So which is caused by the bacteria which affecting the gums is known as option A, Vincent angina. Question number 70. Now let's see the question number 70. Cobblestone appearance in the GI mucosa is the main feature of option A, ulcerative colitis, B, Crohn's disease, C, intestinal obstruction, option D, colon cancer. So the right answer, cobblestone appearance is commonly present in the option B, Crohn's disease. Question number 70, option C is right. Question number 71. Predominant feature of acute pancreatitis is option A, projectile vomiting, option B, abdominal pain, C, absence of bowel sounds, option D, jaundice. In acute pancreatitis, the predominant clinical manifestation is option B, abdominal pain. Question number 72. What condition favors gluconeogenesis over glycolysis? Option A, pyruvate deficiency, B, high blood glucose levels, option C, starvation and fasting, option D, ethanol consumption. So the condition which favors gluconeogenesis, the right answer is starvation and fasting. Question number 73. The renal system does not play a direct role in regulating which of the following? Option A, blood solute concentration, B, blood temperature maintenance, option C, blood pressure regulation, option D, blood pH maintenance. So in which of the following the renal system does not do its function? Option B, the blood temperature regulation is the right answer. Question number 74. Which of the following anatomical portion of a nephron connects the Bowman's capsule to the loops of Henle? Option A, connecting tubule, option B, proximal convoluted tubule, option C, collecting duct, option D, distal convoluted tubule. The part which connecting the Bowman's capsule to the loop of Henle, that is called PCT, proximal convoluted tubule. Question number 75. While caring for a patient who is experiencing a postpartum, that is post-operative hemorrhage, the healthcare provider notes the rhythm observed on the electrocardiogram does not produce a pulse. Which action should the healthcare provider initiate to resolve the patient's problem? Choose all those applied. Option A, administration of IV crystalloids, B, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, C, defibrillation, option D, administration of epinephrine, option E, administration of vasoconstrictors. So for this client, we need to do the procedures as mentioned here. We need to administer IV crystalloid and cardiopulmonary resuscitation to be initiated when he does not have that pulse, and administration of epinephrine and administration of vasoconstrictors. So these all we need to do. Question number 75, 76. A patient who has diagnosis of atrial fibrillation has a heart rate of 152 beats per minute. The nurse should assess for which of the problems related to dysarrhythmia except option A, dizziness, B, pulse deficit, C, chest pain, option D, headache. So in this condition, when there is 152 beats per minute of heart rate, for dysarrhythmia, the nurse can see all except option D, headache. Question number 76, the rationale is here. Question number 77. A client is scheduled to undergo a renal biopsy. To minimize the risk of post-procedure complication, the nurse should report which laboratory result to the physician before the procedure. Option A, blood urea nitrogen, that is 15 milligram per deciliter. Option B, prothrombin time of 15 seconds. Option C, potassium of 3.8 milliequivalent per liter. Option D, serum creatinine level of 1.2 milligram per deciliter. So in this condition, after renal biopsy, to reduce the post-procedure complication, the nurse should check for the prothrombin time, which is more than the normal. So that means that should be informed to the healthcare provider and take the necessary steps. So the rationale is here. Move on to question number 78. A client has an arteriovenous fistula in place in the right upper extremity for a hemodialysis treatment. When planning care for this client, which measure should the nurse implement to promote client safety? Option A, assess the fistula for the presence of a bruit and thrill every 4 hours. Option B, use the right arm blood pressure assessment. Option C, use the fistula for all venipuncture and for intravenous infusion. Option D, ensure that small clamps are attached to IV fistula dressing. So in this case, the nurse should be like we need to check for fistula is in the fistula there is a sound, bruit or thrill are present or not. We need to check for every 4 hours. So rational I have given here. So now we move to the question number 79. You are developing a post-procedure nursing care plan for a client who have renal who had renal biopsy. Which intervention you should avoid documenting? Option A, administering analgesics as needed. Option B, encouraging fluid intake at least 3 liters on the first 24 hours. Option C, testing the serial urine samples with a dipstick for any occult blood. Option D, ambulating the client in the room and cough for the short distance. So here, after renal biopsy, the intervention you should not do, that is, we should not document, that is, option D, ambulating, that is not advised. Question number 80. The rationale is here for 79. Let's see the question number 80. Just a minute, it's loading. Now let's see the question number 80. The client who has a history of gout also diagnosed with urolithiasis and the stones are determined to be of uric acid types. So the nurse gives the client instruction in which food to limit, including option A, carrots, B, milk, C, liver, D, apples. So when the client is diagnosed with urolithiasis and having the history of gout, so the food to be avoided is option C, liver. Option C, liver should be avoided. Question number 81. The rationale for 80 is here. 81. The nurse has completed client teaching with hemodialysis. Client about self-monitoring between hemodialysis treatment. The nurse determines that he best understood the information if the client states to record daily the option A, blood urea nitrogen and creatinine level. Option B, intake output and weight. Option C, pulse and respiratory rate. Option D, amount of activity. So when the client in hemodialysis who is in need of self monitoring, about the hemodialysis treatment. Which thing he need to record? Option B, intake and output, as well as the weight should be monitored daily. Now let's see the question number 82. Following practices are useful to prevention of corona infection except option A, hand washing, B, taking OTC medication, option C, coughing etiquette, coughing etiquette, option D, social distancing. So which of the following intervention is not effective in preventing the coronavirus infection? Option B, taking OTC. Sorry, this one. Uh, the right answer is option B, taking OTC medicine is not effective. Taking OTC medication. This is not the right answer. Option B, taking OTC medication is not effective in preventing the coronavirus infection. So option B is right, not option C. Question number 83. Used N95 mask is to be disposed in option A, yellow, B, blue, option C, red, option D, green. The used N95 mask should be disposed in yellow bins. Option A, yellow color bins. Question number 84. Correct sequence of donning COVID PPE kit is option A, gown, mask, goggles or face shields, gloves, shoe covers. Option B, gloves, mask, gowns, goggles or face shields and shoe covers. Option C, gowns, shoe covers, gloves, mask, goggles, face shield. Option D, goggles, face shield, gowns, mask, gloves and shoe covers. So which is the correct sequence of donning COVID-19 PPE kits? The right answer is option C. So this is the order. First we put gowns, then shoe covers and gloves, masks, goggles and face shield. So here you can see the order suggested. Step 1, gowns, then we go for shoe covers, then we go for gloves, mask or respirator, and finally we go for goggles and face shields. So the cycle, this is the donning cycle. So starting from the first step, we have all the steps. So you can see this if you have any doubt. Question number 85. In alcohol based sanitizer for coronavirus, the preferred ethanol content is option A, 10 to 40 percentage, option B, at least 60 percentage, option D, 40 to 50 percentage, option D, 100 percentage. The right answer is at least 60 percentage minimum, above 60 percentage is recommended. Question number 86. For corona infection, following sample is collected. Option A, tracheal aspirate, B, nasal aspirate, C, swab test, D, all of the above. The right answer is all the above. Samples are collected for corona infection diagnostic test. Question number 87. So this is the rational. Now let's see the question number 87. During the first 36 hours after insertion of the chest tube, while assessing the function of your chest drainage system, the nurse identifies that water in the underwater seal tube is not moving. What initial action should the nurse take? Option A, records patient vital signs immediately. Option B, turn the patients to the unaffected side. Option C, inform the physician. Option D, check the tube to ensure that it is not kinked. So in this condition, the first activity nurse should do is to check the tube for any kinking. Question number 88. A 36-year-old multigravida who is at 14 weeks of gestation is scheduled for an alpha-fetoprotein test. The alpha-fetoprotein test is an indicator of option A, neural tube defects, B. cardiac anomalies, C. GI defects, D. renal defects. The right answer, alpha fetoprotein test is mainly for this one, neural tube defects. It is not renal defect, it is neural tube defects. Alpha fetoprotein mainly used in the neural tube defects. Question number 89. A client is admitted to the breathing suite in the early active labor. Which nursing action takes the priority during the admission process? Option A, auscultating the fetal heart. Option B, obtaining the obstetric history. Option C, determining when the last meal was taken. Option D, ascertaining whether the membrane have ruptured. The right answer. So in this condition, we need to auscultate the fetal heart. Then we can make sure that is the this is the first thing we need to check. Now let's see the 90th question. A client's membrane rupture while her labor is being augmented with oxytocin strip. What action should the nurse take first? Option A, changing the client's position. B, take the client's blood pressure. Option C, stop the client's oxytocin infusion. Option D, prepare the client for an immediate birth. The right answer is we need to prepare the client for immediate birth. So these are the important questions which we have discussed in the mock test 3. So next test we will be having on Tuesday. To join the test series, please request with your name and place in this WhatsApp number. So thanks for watching this video. If you like, please comment about this video, and don't forget to subscribe if you have not yet subscribed. Meet you again with another good 100 questions. Still that, take care. Bye bye.